Before a woman says anything, before her mouth moves or her hands gesture, men notice her energy. They may not be able to describe it. They may not even understand it consciously. But something in the room shifts when she enters. It is not the color of her dress, nor the curve of her lips, nor the shine in her hair. It is something far subtler, far more profound. It is the frequency she radiates. It is the weight of her presence. It is the invisible signature she leaves on the air before anyone speaks. Energy speaks before words because energy is truth. It does not lie. It does not overcompensate. It does not plead. It does not explain. It simply exists, and those around it feel its resonance immediately. A high-value woman knows this. She knows that trying to impress or manipulating attention is unnecessary because the right energy will always attract the right attention. No words, no gestures, no rehearsed charm can replace the authenticity of quiet, grounded power. Consider the way most people operate. Most people believe that attention is earned through what they say, how they perform, or the image they project. They believe that charm is the summation of compliments, witty remarks, and forced confidence. They mistake noise for influence, talking for presence. But the truth is the opposite. Noise is masking weakness. Talking too much is often a signal of insecurity. Compliments given to seek approval reveal emptiness. Energy, however, cannot be faked. It is seen in the stillness of a gaze, in the calmness of a posture, in the subtle rhythm of breathing, in the quiet certainty of a mind that does not need to prove itself. A woman who understands the power of energy does not rush to fill silence. She does not clap her hands to be noticed. She does not exaggerate her laughter to draw eyes. She moves with intention, and each movement carries weight. Her steps are deliberate, her gestures are measured, her expressions are authentic. She does not flinch when observed because she knows that observation does not define her. Presence, not reaction, defines her. And that is what men feel instantly. Men notice how she carries herself. They notice whether she feels whole in her own skin or if she is seeking approval. They notice whether she projects urgency or calm. They notice whether her aura invites connection or demands attention. Energy cannot be turned on and off like a switch. It cannot be summoned for a moment and ignored the next. It is cultivated. It is nurtured. It is the sum of self-respect, self-discipline, and clarity of mind. It is the quiet result of a woman who knows who she is and refuses to compromise her alignment for temporary validation. Energy speaks through subtle cues, the tilt of a head, the steadiness of the eyes, the softness of a smile that does not need to please anyone. A high-value woman understands that attraction is not in proving herself. Attraction is in revealing herself fully, unapologetically, and calmly. The men around her sense it immediately, often before she utters a single word. They feel her energy like a pulse in the room. They notice the difference between someone who carries internal peace and someone who carries internal chaos, and they are drawn to the former not because she demands it, but because she does not. Energy also reveals boundaries without explanation. The way she holds space communicates what she will and will not accept. Men notice when a woman's energy says, "I am not available for what is beneath my standard." This is far more powerful than any statement of rules or conditions. Words can be argued with, challenged, or ignored. Energy cannot. Energy is magnetic or repelling. It signals clarity, confidence, and self-possession. High-value women understand this and they harness it. They are aware that their energy can elevate a room, calm tension, or shift dynamics, all without uttering a syllable. Beyond attraction, energy conveys authenticity. It tells men that she is grounded in reality, rooted in herself, and not living in the illusions of comparison, envy, or need. She is complete, and her completeness cannot be borrowed, copied, or taken. Men sense that completeness instinctively. It is the reason they pause, the reason they are curious, the reason they are drawn even when the woman does nothing to draw them. It is invisible, yet it speaks louder than any argument or display of charm ever could. A woman's energy is also shaped by her emotional control. Calmness under pressure radiates differently than excitement or panic. It is steady, like water flowing around obstacles, like a mountain unmoved by storms. Men notice when a woman does not react to provocation or chaos with desperation. They notice when her energy remains consistent regardless of circumstance. It signals strength, stability, and magnetism. And in a world of unpredictable reactions, that type of energy becomes rare, valuable, and unforgettable. Energy speaks before words because it is the truest reflection of her inner world. Men notice it instinctively, long before they understand it logically. A high-value woman understands this. She invests in her energy daily through self-care, reflection, clarity of purpose, and the discipline to remain aligned with herself. She knows that words are fleeting, gestures are temporary, and appearances fade. Energy is lasting. Energy communicates without explanation. Energy commands respect without force. And so she moves through life with intention, knowing that every room she enters, every conversation she joins, every interaction she participates in is colored by the energy she carries. Men notice it instantly because energy is truth made visible, and there is nothing more magnetic than truth fully embodied. Self-respect is invisible, yet it is the foundation of everything a high-value woman carries with her. It is quiet, yet it speaks louder than any words. It is unseen, yet it is felt immediately by everyone around her. Men notice it instinctively before any introductions are made. Before conversations begin, even before attraction has a chance to form. It is the standard by which she measures herself, the invisible line that determines what she will accept, tolerate, or reject, and it radiates from her like a force field of unspoken authority. A woman with self-respect does not wait for the world to define her value. She knows her worth in silence. She knows her limits, her principles, and her boundaries, and she refuses to negotiate them for fleeting attention or temporary approval. Men sense this instantly. They can feel whether she will bend to please them or whether she stands firm in her truth. And that difference, subtle as it is, transforms every interaction. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is not pride disguised as haughtiness. It is the quiet recognition that she is worthy of respect, commitment, and honor. And she does not settle for less than what aligns with her principles. Most women confuse self-respect with rigid perfection or emotional detachment. They believe that to command respect, they must always be unyielding, always impeccable, always flawless. But true self-respect is flexible yet firm. It is not about avoiding mistakes. It is about honoring yourself when mistakes are made. It is about taking responsibility without shame. It is about upholding your standards without needing to justify them. This subtle balance between firmness and grace is magnetic, and men notice it instantly. They notice that she is not begging for approval, not apologizing for existing, and not negotiating her dignity to fit someone else's expectations. Self-respect manifests in how she speaks, how she moves, and how she interacts. She does not interrupt to assert herself because her presence asserts itself naturally. She does not raise her voice to demand attention because attention seeks her. She does not explain herself endlessly because her clarity requires no defense. Every word she speaks carries weight, not because it is loud, but because it comes from alignment. Men notice the difference between a woman who is defined by others' opinions and a woman who defines herself. They sense when someone's life revolves around validation, and they sense equally when someone is anchored in self-worth. Boundaries are the natural extension of self-respect. They are not walls built from fear. They are guidelines drawn from understanding. A high-value woman knows what she will accept and what she will not, and she enforces these boundaries calmly, without drama or pleading. If someone crosses them, she does not beg for recognition or argue for respect. She withdraws or redirects energy in a way that communicates her value without aggression. Men notice this instantly because boundaries without explanation are stronger than arguments with them. They signal clarity, strength, and a refusal to compromise integrity for temporary gain. Self-respect also dictates how she allows herself to be treated emotionally. She does not tolerate manipulation, deceit, or disrespect. She does not compromise her emotional well-being to preserve connection. A woman who honors herself does not chase validation. She does not lower her standards to maintain attention. She is fully aware that her value is inherent and not contingent on someone else's approval. Men sense this stability. They notice when a woman's calmness stems from strength rather than submission. They are drawn to the peace of someone who refuses to be swayed by external chaos. Beyond emotional and social interactions, self-respect sets the standard for her personal life. How she invests her time, her energy, and her resources reflects her understanding of her worth. She does not engage in activities that demean her. She does not tolerate relationships that drain her. She does not chase opportunities that undervalue her. Every choice is a reflection of her internal standard. Men notice this because they are attuned to congruence. They sense when a woman's actions align with her words, when her life reflects her principles, and when her presence communicates boundaries without needing to speak them aloud. A high-value woman's self-respect is also her armor. It protects her from compromise, from settling, from being drawn into situations that erode her dignity. But it is not defensive in the traditional sense. It is not fear-based. It is grounded in the knowledge that she is whole and complete within herself. She knows that attention is temporary, validation is fleeting, and respect is earned when energy aligns with truth. Men notice this. They notice when a woman carries herself with dignity even when ignored, when disrespected, or when tested. They notice that she does not beg, plead, or manipulate. She does not chase outcomes because she knows her standard is non-negotiable. Self-respect also allows her to love without neediness. She can give deeply because she is not taking to fill emptiness. She can support without sacrificing her principles. She can engage without compromising her integrity. Men feel this authenticity. They notice that she is not dependent on their attention for validation, and that independence creates space for connection that is magnetic and sustainable. The highest expression of self-respect is consistency. It is not occasional, not conditional, not performed for admiration. It is practiced daily, quietly, in how she speaks to herself, how she disciplines her mind, how she treats her body, how she navigates her emotions, and how she maintains her boundaries. Men notice this consistency even before they understand it. It communicates that she is reliable, grounded, and anchored. That she is not a product of circumstance but a reflection of inner alignment. Self-respect sets the standard because it is the invisible framework that governs everything she allows into her life. Men notice it because energy reflects truth, and nothing communicates truth faster than a woman who honors herself in every way. Emotional control is one of the most overlooked, yet most powerful qualities a woman can possess. It is subtle, almost invisible, yet its effects are immediate and undeniable. Men notice it instantly, often before they understand why. They may not hear it in her words or see it in her gestures, but they feel it in the weight of her presence, in the steadiness of her energy, in the calmness that flows through her regardless of the chaos around her. Emotional control is not about suppressing feelings. It is about mastering them, guiding them with intention, and refusing to allow external circumstances to dictate her inner state. A woman who has learned emotional control understands that reactions are choices. She does not react impulsively to provocation or manipulation. She does not allow insults, dismissals, or disrespect to dictate her mood or her behavior. Instead, she observes, she evaluates, and she responds with clarity. Men notice this instantly because emotional control creates a distinct contrast to the common chaos of emotional volatility. In a world where many react with drama, frustration, or desperation, her steadiness becomes magnetic. It communicates strength, self-possession, and authority without a single word. Emotional control is not coldness. It is not detachment from feelings. It is mastery over them. A woman who controls her emotions experiences life fully but without being enslaved by it. She allows joy, passion, and excitement to flow through her freely, but she does not let fear, anger, or insecurity hijack her decisions. This balance is rare, and it is felt by men immediately. They notice when a woman can face disappointment without collapse, when she can encounter conflict without escalation, when she can maintain calm intention without losing her composure. Emotional control becomes a signal of power because it reflects inner stability, self-respect, and maturity. Consider how most women operate in emotional interactions. They allow small slights to ruin their day. They react defensively to criticism. They chase validation when they feel unseen. They apologize for being upset, for being passionate, for existing. Emotional control requires stepping out of this reactive cycle. It requires observing impulses, understanding their source, and choosing responses that serve long-term alignment rather than short-term relief. Men notice the difference immediately. They sense when a woman is reactive because her energy is jagged, unstable, and unpredictable. They sense when a woman is in control because her energy is smooth, steady, and consistent. One of the most powerful aspects of emotional control is that it creates mystery. When a woman does not give away her feelings on impulse, when she does not reveal every thought or reaction, men are drawn into her presence because they feel there is something beyond what is visible. Emotional control protects her energy. It prevents over-investment in those who are not aligned with her value. It signals that she is not a tool to be manipulated, not a prize to be won through drama, not an emotion to be toyed with. Men notice instantly that she is rare, not because she is distant, but because she is grounded. Emotional control also dictates how a woman navigates conflict. She does not argue to prove a point. She does not react to ego with ego. She does not let anger become a weapon to influence outcomes. Instead, she maintains clarity, she speaks intentionally, and she acts from a position of calm authority. Men notice this because most interactions in life are fueled by reactive energy. When someone remains composed, it shifts the dynamic, it commands attention and respect. It forces others to meet her on her terms, not the chaos of their own emotions. Men also notice emotional control in moments of tension. When faced with rejection, disappointment, or frustration, a woman with emotional mastery does not crumble, beg, or lash out. She maintains equilibrium. She allows time to reveal truth. She uses patience as a tool. She does not chase outcomes through emotional desperation. Men feel the difference between someone who reacts to fear and someone who responds from power. Emotional control becomes irresistible because it is the embodiment of freedom, freedom from needing approval, freedom from reacting to pressure, freedom from chaos outside oneself. Emotional control extends beyond interactions with others. It reflects the way a woman treats herself internally. She does not berate herself for mistakes. She does not allow self-doubt to dictate her decisions. She observes her emotions, understands their origin, and consciously chooses how to act on them. Men notice this subtle alignment because it radiates confidence and stability. A woman who masters her inner world cannot be shaken by superficial drama. Her energy communicates security, presence, and independence, and men feel it before any conversation begins. The most powerful aspect of emotional control is that it creates a foundation for all other forms of influence. A woman who controls her emotions does not need to manipulate, demand, or impress. She can lead, inspire, and attract naturally. Her calmness under pressure, her ability to maintain balance in chaos, her refusal to overreact, and her measured responses signal authority and strength. Men notice it instinctively. They feel safe yet intrigued. They feel challenged yet drawn. They feel the pull of a woman whose inner world is unshakable, whose energy cannot be coerced, and whose power is absolute because it is rooted in discipline rather than display. Emotional control is cultivated through awareness, practice, and self-reflection. It is a daily commitment to observe impulses, understand triggers, and choose intentional responses. It is strengthened through patience, through consistency, and through the refusal to surrender one's inner peace to external turbulence. Men notice this mastery not because it is shown, but because it is felt. It communicates strength without aggression, confidence without boastfulness, and power without domination. A woman who embodies emotional control is magnetic because she is rare, disciplined, and complete within herself. She does not need to explain, justify, or prove her value. Her energy, her stability, her calm authority speaks volumes. Men notice immediately because emotional control is the unspoken language of power, and those who understand it instinctively respect it, are drawn to it, and are compelled to respond to it. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not the absence of action or the lack of presence. Silence is the most powerful form of communication a high-value woman can wield. Men notice it instantly, even if they do not consciously understand it. It is a quiet force that fills a room without sound, a presence that commands attention without demand, and a signal that her energy cannot be manipulated, hurried, or controlled. In a world of noise, chaos, and constant over-explaining, silence becomes a rare and magnetic power. A woman who understands the strength of silence does not speak to fill the void. She does not laugh louder than necessary to be noticed. She does not explain herself endlessly to justify her choices, her emotions, or her existence. She allows pauses to exist naturally, and within those pauses, she communicates more than words ever could. Men notice this instantly because silence is a mirror. It reflects her inner alignment, her self-possession, and her refusal to surrender control of her energy to external circumstances. Silence is her authority, and those who feel it know instinctively that she is anchored in herself. Most people fear silence because it exposes vulnerability. They believe that if they are quiet, they will be ignored, misunderstood, or left behind. They fill every moment with words, gestures, or distractions to hide insecurity. But a woman who understands silence knows that it is the opposite of fear. Silence is choice. Silence is confidence. Silence is control. It is the signal that she does not need to explain herself, convince anyone of her worth, or seek validation. Her presence alone speaks louder than any argument, any display, any performance. Men sense this often before she even speaks because energy cannot be faked. Silence also reveals strength because it demonstrates emotional mastery. A woman who does not react impulsively, who does not argue unnecessarily, who does not escalate situations with emotional outbursts shows an incredible depth of self-control. Men notice when a woman remains composed in tension, when she listens before responding, and when she allows others to reveal themselves through their words while she maintains calm observation. That kind of quiet power unsettles those who expect reaction and draws in those who respect stability. Emotional control and silence are intertwined. One cannot exist without the other in true mastery. Another reason silence reveals strength is that it protects energy. When a woman does not feel compelled to respond to every slight, insult, or provocation, she preserves her power. She does not chase attention that is not freely given. She does not argue to defend her worth. She does not compromise her principles to satisfy temporary desires. Men notice this because silence communicates that she is selective, discerning, and unavailable to manipulation. Her energy is untouchable, not because she is distant, but because she is intentional. Every pause, every quiet moment, every measured reaction signals that she values herself too highly to be swayed by drama or chaos. Silence also creates intrigue. When a woman does not reveal everything at once, when she holds some things back, when she allows space for observation and curiosity, men are drawn in. Silence invites attention because it implies depth. It communicates that there is more to discover, more to understand, and that access to her mind and heart is earned through respect, patience, and alignment. Noise attracts superficial interest. Silence attracts lasting fascination. Men feel this instinctively. They notice that a woman who speaks only when necessary carries weight, that her words are deliberate, that her energy is measured, and that she cannot be hurried, forced, or rushed. High-value women also use silence to set boundaries. They do not feel the need to justify why something is unacceptable. They do not explain why they choose to walk away, to say no, or to pause a conversation. Silence communicates their limits with clarity and power. Men notice this because they instinctively recognize when someone is fully aligned with their standards. There is no argument, no negotiation, no need for persuasion. Silence becomes the most effective way to communicate authority because it leaves no room for misinterpretation. Her energy does the speaking, and those who respect it respond naturally. Silence also amplifies presence. In a room filled with chatter, constant opinions, and emotional noise, a woman who remains quiet stands out. She does not compete for attention. She does not seek approval. She does not over-explain. Instead, she radiates focus, clarity, and poise. Men notice her presence immediately because it is unassuming yet commanding, soft yet undeniable, calm yet captivating. It is a quiet confidence that draws attention without effort, influence without demand, and power without aggression. Furthermore, silence demonstrates patience. A woman who does not rush to respond, who allows time to reveal truth, who waits for the right moment to act or speak, shows mastery over herself and over the situation. Men notice this because most people react impulsively. Most people act out of need, insecurity, or urgency. But a woman who holds her words, her actions, and her emotions until the moment aligns with her values shows discipline and strength. She does not collapse under pressure. She does not chase outcomes. She allows life to unfold and responds intentionally. Finally, silence reveals strength because it is the natural extension of self-respect. A woman who respects herself does not need to fill space to prove she exists. She does not over-explain to justify choices. She does not seek validation to confirm worth. Her energy communicates clarity, dignity, and autonomy. Men notice this instantly. They feel it before any conversation. They sense it in the pause of her words, in the steadiness of her posture, in the calmness of her gaze. Silence becomes a language of power, a reflection of mastery, and a beacon of magnetism that cannot be ignored. A high-value woman understands that purpose always outweighs attention. She knows that the world will constantly offer distractions, validation, and fleeting admiration, but she does not allow these external signals to dictate her energy, her choices, or her life's direction. Men notice this immediately, often before they even understand why. There is a difference between someone who seeks attention and someone who radiates purpose. The former moves urgently, reacts to every stimulus, and bends their energy to please others. The latter moves intentionally, acts with clarity, and invests her energy in what truly matters to her without seeking approval. Purpose over attention is the hallmark of magnetic presence because it communicates self-possession, confidence, and alignment in ways words never could. Attention is temporary. It is a momentary flicker that fades as quickly as it appears. Like compliments, glances, and admiration are external signals that have no bearing on the internal state of a woman who knows her worth. Purpose, on the other hand, is enduring. It is cultivated through daily practice, discipline, and consistent alignment with one's values, goals, and vision. A woman who prioritizes purpose over attention does not chase outcomes that are fleeting. She invests in long-term growth, self-mastery, and meaningful actions. Men notice the difference immediately because they feel the energy of intention, clarity, and drive. Where attention creates noise, purpose creates gravity. A woman who is focused on attention reacts to everything. She becomes anxious when ignored, defensive when criticized, and elated when praised. Her energy fluctuates based on external validation, and men sense this instability unconsciously. It signals neediness, dependence, and lack of self-possession. A high-value woman, however, anchors herself in purpose. She does not allow praise or neglect to disturb her equilibrium. She does not chase approval or recognition. She moves through life with intentionality, making choices that align with her values and her long-term vision. Men notice this difference instantly because it communicates power, independence, and maturity. Purpose over attention also creates boundaries naturally. A woman with purpose knows what she will prioritize and what she will not. She invests her energy in actions, relationships, and experiences that align with her values, and she does not expend energy on distractions, drama, or validation-seeking behaviors. Men sense this clarity instinctively. They notice when a woman does not bend, compromise, or overextend herself to please them or anyone else. They notice that she is selective, intentional, and unavailable to manipulation. Her presence communicates that she is guided by principle, not by the desire to be seen, liked, or approved of. Furthermore, purpose over attention strengthens a woman's emotional resilience. When attention is her metric, she becomes vulnerable to rejection, criticism, and indifference. She reacts to what others give her, rather than what she creates for herself. Purpose, however, provides internal metrics that are unshakable. She measures her progress, growth, and fulfillment by her actions, not by external approval. Men notice this self-containment. They are drawn to the stability it creates because it signals someone who is grounded, self-sufficient, and aligned. Emotional control and purpose are intertwined because both reflect inner authority and independence. Purpose also transforms presence. A woman who operates from purpose does not need to chase attention to feel alive. Her energy becomes magnetic because it is directed, focused, and meaningful. Every action carries intention. Every decision reflects alignment. She does not scatter herself chasing validation. She does not act impulsively to be noticed. She does not over-explain, overperform, or overcompete. Men notice this immediately because it contrasts sharply with the frenetic attention-seeking energy they encounter in most people. Purpose is quiet, yet it commands. Purpose is subtle, yet undeniable. It draws attention naturally, not because it demands it, but because it reflects authenticity and self-possession. High-value women understand that attention without purpose is fleeting, empty, and often destructive. It creates dependency on external forces, volatility in emotion, and instability in energy. Purpose without attention, however, is sustainable, powerful, and magnetic. It creates a life that is aligned with one's values and long-term vision. Men notice when a woman operates with purpose because they feel the energy of someone who cannot be rushed, coerced, or distracted. Her focus is not on them. Her focus is on herself, her growth, and her trajectory. And that alone becomes irresistible because it signals self-possession, independence, and mastery. Purpose over attention also fosters patience and long-term thinking. A woman who is driven by purpose does not chase fleeting opportunities for recognition or temporary praise. She invests in what builds her character, her skills, and her legacy. She is not swayed by popularity, social validation, or momentary admiration. Men notice this because it reflects discipline, clarity, and foresight. They sense the difference between someone who is reactive, easily swayed and focused on the opinions of others, and someone whose energy is anchored in long-term alignment, self-mastery, and intentional growth. A woman guided by purpose also inspires those around her. Her energy is contagious because it reflects authenticity and alignment. Men notice when she prioritizes meaningful work, disciplined growth, and intentional living over superficial attention because it signals that she is rare. Her magnetism is not a performance, not an act, not a tactic. It is the natural consequence of living intentionally, acting with integrity, and valuing alignment over approval. Her energy communicates that she cannot be rushed, coerced, or manipulated, and that she values her time, her mind, and her presence above fleeting admiration. Men notice purpose because it signals freedom. A woman who prioritizes purpose over attention is not bound by the need to be liked, followed, or validated. She is not a reflection of others' opinions. She is self-contained, autonomous, and anchored. Her energy communicates independence, clarity, and power. It signals that her life is not subject to the whims of others, and that any connection must be earned through respect, alignment, and authenticity. Purpose over attention is the essence of high value because it demonstrates that she governs her life, her energy, and her presence from a position of inner authority. A high-value woman knows that boundaries are not negotiable. They are not suggestions, they are not optional, and they do not require justification. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define her energy, her standards, and her self-respect. Men notice these boundaries immediately, even if they cannot name them. They feel when she is willing to step forward and when she is unwilling to bend, when her presence commands respect and when intrusion will be met with calm firmness. Boundaries without explanation are the ultimate form of power because they communicate clarity, self-possession, and authority without drama, debate, or negotiation. Many people misunderstand boundaries. They believe that setting a limit requires justification, that saying no necessitates an explanation, or that protecting oneself must be polite, persuasive, or apologetic. This is not the case. Boundaries are not about convincing others, they are about honoring oneself. They are not dependent on others' understanding or agreement. A high-value woman knows that she owes no one justification for where she draws the line. She does not argue with disrespect. She does not over-explain. She does not plead for recognition of her limits. Her boundaries exist first and foremost for her own clarity and integrity, and men notice instantly that these boundaries are real, respected, and non-negotiable. Boundaries without explanation communicate strength because they reflect alignment. A woman who enforces her limits without drama signals that her energy is not to be manipulated, her time is not to be wasted, and her presence is not to be taken for granted. Men sense this immediately because energy cannot be faked. The woman who explains, argues, or negotiates her boundaries conveys uncertainty. The woman who enforces them quietly, consistently, and without explanation conveys authority. It is not aggression, it is self-possession. It is not distance, it is clarity. It is a form of communication that transcends words because the energy behind her actions speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Boundaries without explanation also protect emotional energy. High-value women understand that reactions, concessions, and over-explanations drain their power. They understand that every argument, justification, or defense over limits weakens their energy and dilutes their presence. By removing the need to explain, they conserve energy for themselves and for those who align with their values. Men notice this because it communicates stability, confidence, and integrity. They sense that she is not dependent on validation, that she is not easily swayed, and that she values herself above pleasing others. This energy becomes magnetic because it signals independence and strength. Boundaries without explanation do not create isolation, they create clarity. A woman who enforces her limits does not push people away arbitrarily. She simply ensures that her relationships, interactions, and commitments exist within spaces of respect and alignment. Men notice this clarity because it simplifies dynamics. There is no confusion about what is acceptable and what is not. There is no negotiation for control, no manipulation of emotions, no ambiguity about standards. Her energy communicates exactly what she will allow, and those who align are drawn to her naturally. Those who do not respect the boundaries are gently but firmly filtered out without effort, drama, or confrontation. Another reason boundaries without explanation reveal power is that they cultivate presence. A woman who does not justify herself demonstrates that her presence is enough. She does not need to over-explain, over-perform, or over-compete to be noticed or valued. Her energy communicates authority, clarity, and dignity. Men notice this immediately because it contrasts sharply with the neediness, defensiveness, and insecurity they see in most people. Boundaries without explanation are not aggressive. They are intentional. They are deliberate markers of self-respect, independence, and inner strength. High-value women also use boundaries to model emotional control. When confronted with disrespect, manipulation, or undue demands, they do not react impulsively. They do not argue or beg. They enforce their limits calmly, consistently, and without drama. Men notice this mastery of energy because it signals that she is grounded, stable, and unshakable. It communicates that her emotions are not available for external manipulation and that she governs her own inner world with discipline and clarity. Boundaries without explanation are inseparable from emotional control because both reflect the mastery of self rather than dependence on others. Boundaries without explanation also foster attraction naturally. Men are drawn to women who hold space for themselves without apology. They are intrigued by women whose standards are clear and non-negotiable. This is not about rigidity, it is about alignment. A high-value woman understands that not everyone will match her energy or her standards. She does not lower herself to accommodate those who cannot align. Instead, she creates a space where respect, alignment, and integrity are prerequisites for connection. Men notice this instinctively because energy reveals truth, and boundaries are the most visible expression of that truth. Boundaries without explanation also teach others how to treat her without confrontation. They are a living demonstration of self-respect. When she maintains limits calmly, she signals that respect is not earned through persuasion or manipulation, but through alignment with her standards. Men notice this because it communicates that she is not negotiable, not easily influenced, and not dependent on their approval. Her energy communicates authority without aggression, clarity without defensiveness, and strength without conflict. High-value women understand that boundaries are the foundation of a life lived with dignity, purpose, and power. They understand that explaining them is unnecessary because the right people will respect them without question. They understand that energy communicates far more than words ever could, and that men notice boundaries before they hear a single explanation. Boundaries without explanation become an invisible signature of authority, independence, and magnetism